In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about just the exam questions that you should be prepared for when you have to take a test for an employment-based test. Now, for Microsoft Office Specialist test, which is known as the MOS certification, this may be good for like the entry-level test. So you may want to check the criteria that are set for that exam and see whether I've covered it. I think for the initial test, this might be good. Now, I'm using Office 2013 and I might make a 2010 version for it, but I'm going to try to combine 2010 and 13 in this video as there is a lot of similarity there. For 2007, there was a big change, so for that I will need to do it. However, if you watch this video and you are preparing for 2007, if you can follow the questions and find the answers on your 2007 PowerPoint, you'll be ready for it too. There was just minor changes in 2007 where they don't have the transitions tab, which is part of design, and also in the animation a few things look different. Okay, so with that said, let's get going. Now this video is not good for people who don't know anything about PowerPoint. This is like a nice little review. So in 30 minutes I'm going to try to cram in all the important things you should be aware of to get at least 80% and higher, maybe 90%, and some of you maybe more, to pass the test. Okay, so first thing to talk about, I'm going to go to the next slide, is talking about saving. So they'll say save the file. So you can click on the save button here, or you can click on the file button and then click on save, and then you can choose to save it on the computer if they tell you to do it there. If they tell you to save it to the OneDrive, which used to be called SkyDrive, you can do that there too. So I'll just click on computer, and if they say desktop, I can click on the desktop from my side here, or I can go to browse and then click on desktop and then choose to save it here with whatever file name they give it. You just type it in there and then hit save. So the file is saved. From the file itself, you can choose to open files. So whenever you go there, you'll see the last few files listed there, or you can go and browse from your OneDrive, which is the cloud service of Microsoft, or from your computer. So it's up to you, and they'll tell you exactly how to go about doing it, and usually the files will be listed here somewhere. You won't have to go anywhere. Also in the file, there is the info button. From here, you can add all the properties like the titles, and then you can add tags which are useful when you search for things, the dates and things like that. And you can also show all properties to look at more information. You can also protect your presentation from here. This question may be there. I don't see it a lot in PowerPoint, but it might be there. You can encrypt it with a password right from here. You may get a question about save as, which is right up here. You can do that, and you can use the back arrow here. This is in 2013. In 2010, it will look a little different. Now, also from file, you might get questions about sharing. So you go to share, and from here, you can share it with people, or you can invite people to look at by saving it to the cloud. So this could be a question where they want you to save it to OneDrive and then share it with some people with the link so other people can see this and they can even edit it by giving them permission. You can email it to them directly. So this is usually an exam question. They want to see if you know how to email things directly from the file rather than doing it from Outlook and then trying to do it. You can also present it online. I'll talk about this again a little bit later. But online means is that it will put a link on the internet on Microsoft's website, and you'll get a link that you can give to people and you can watch it. So there's information here if you wanted to look at. There's also the export. So usually the questions will be very specific. They'll say export to something. So you know you need to go to the export part. So be very careful when you are reading the question, because a lot of time the question is also in a way a test to see how well do you understand the English language or whatever language the test is in. So from the export, I can create a video. So this is in 2010 and 2013. 2007 does not have this feature, and I can choose what quality of the video do I want it to be, and it will create a video for me that I can burn it to a DVD and give it to people. Okay? And there is the close part that you can do it from here. I'll just use the back arrow. So these are some basic things about saving. I'll go to the next slide. So here we talk about managing slides. So let's talk about some of the important buttons when it comes to adding slides, deleting slides. So under the Home tab, you have the New Slide button here. So from the New Slide button, they will tell you to add, say, the to content. And usually when you point to it, you will also get the explanation in some of these buttons, not all of them. Or in the explanation, they'll say the second row, first column, so you can pick it from there. So that's the New Slide option. You can delete a slide also while you are on this by going to the slide, and then you can even right click here and you'll see the delete option. So you can delete a slide from here. You can change the layout. So this is a, right now it's a double column layout. When I go to layout, it shows me, and I can change it to a single content, or you can change it to any one. So you can always do this in PowerPoint. You can change the layout to whatever layout you want it to be. Character spacing. So it's like if I highlight this, and they might ask you a question to make the spacing loose. So I'll do it here. I'll highlight this, and there is this button here, the AV button. Now it's important that you understand the button, because in the exam a lot of time you will not get the explanation, so you need to know what that button stands for. So I click it and I can make it very loose, so you see it's kind of far away from each other, or I can make it tight, or I can make it normal. So that's the question about character spacing. You can also get questions about bullets and numbering, which is from here. I can change the bullets and numbering to whatever I want it to be, or the numbering part. And you can also get questions about highlighting things and then center the title. So you can do it by using the center button. Again, know what the button is. The other questions could be about something called text shadow. So whatever they say, usually that word will be highlighted, and they have this S button here, and then I can add a shadow. So you see it's kind of got like a shadow on it. Okay. Drawing tool, what do I mean by that? Up here in the format, whenever you have a box, that's like a box, it's a drawing tool that has been drawn in which I have the text. So whenever you get certain types of questions and you don't know where it is, try to think about the tools option on the top, because from here they could ask you to change the shape style. So you see, you'll see the wordings when they talk about it, or they wanted to affect shape effects. So PowerPoint used to be a very easy exam, but lately they made it a little difficult because they ask these type of questions like shape effects, reflections, and things. So it starts to get a little bit difficult because a lot of time you don't use these features. Some of these things are in the home button, like up here, but you'll find that it's easier to work with it in the tools, and then you just find the option, whatever the word it is, just try to find it from there. And there might be a question about taking something and converting it to a smart art. So in the home button, you see there is this button here called smart art. So if I want, I can take my data, and you see it's turning in the background, and I can turn it into like a smart art object right away. Aligning text, so I can have the text in the middle, on the bottom, on the top. Text direction, that's a question that where they might want you to have it stacked up, or like this, or different directions. So you'll see the word text direction, which is under the home tab. Okay. There are questions about, well, they'll say make the fonts uppercase or lowercase. So when you highlight something, usually you go to this button, the AA button, and make it uppercase or lowercase. However, sometimes they ask you a question about what's called a small caps, and if you set it to uppercase, you will get it wrong. So to do that, you highlight, and in the font section you go to the more button, and here you change it to small caps. What small caps does, the initial character will be bigger in size than everything else, even though everything is uppercase, but the first character is a little larger in size, so it just looks a little nicer rather than that. And if I can go back and remove the small caps, and I can click OK. Okay. So that's the question that you might come across about small caps. And I won't talk about the find and replace. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with it from Word and Excel. I don't remember ever seeing these type of questions here. They usually stick it with Word and sometimes with Excel, but up here you may not see it. But it's good to know where the buttons are in the Home tab. Okay. Next section about ribbons and tabs. What these things on the top are called the tabs, and this whole thing is called the ribbon section. So I just want to talk a little bit about it. And on the top, this section here, I can add all important buttons here. So they may say that customize this part, what is called the quick access toolbar, and then you can choose to add any of these buttons here. So I can add a print button or a spelling check button, which is already added, and also start from beginning, which is slideshow from beginning. So I've added a button that I can use as a shortcut to start my slideshow from beginning, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But from here you can also go to more commands, and then you can change the popular commands to all commands, or even to individual tabs, so that you can find the button from it and you can add it to your shortcut list. Okay. And the same way, you can actually add your own tabs in here. So like I can create a tab with my name and I can put important buttons in there. And to do this, you can go from File and then Options, or from here, you can go to the More Commands and then go to the option called Customize Ribbon. And then these are the ribbons I have, and you can click on New Tab, and I can rename this tab, and I can call it, say, My Name. And then within that I can keep on adding more groups, and then I can start adding the buttons I want to add to those groups. So that way I can customize a tab just with the buttons I need. So I click OK, and there is a mirror with some of the buttons I've added. And I can remove it back if I go back to More Commands, and then I look for Customize Ribbon, and I'll remove the check mark and I'll click OK. So the customizing the ribbon feature was starting in 2010. It's not available in 2007. Alright, moving on to next part, which is about running the slideshow, understanding the notes part and what's in the View tab. So how do you run a slideshow? You go to the slideshow button and run from beginning, or I had added this button here. You can do it from there, or you can go to the View button and then from View you can run the slideshow. I think they've removed it from View. Yeah, it's no longer in View, so I'll have to go to Slideshow from beginning, and there is also an option to start it from the current slide. That means the slide I am on. So Slideshow from beginning. Question about notes. Notes are things usually in this view you'll see it on the bottom of your screen, and in this 2013 they hide it. So if you see on the bottom there is this notes button. When I click it, a notes section comes up and I can leave notes there. So they might ask you to do that. And notes are things which you can print at the end, or you can see it just for yourself when you run the PowerPoint. And under View you can also see this in Notes page. So you can see how this will print. Slide on the top, notes on the bottom, and you can type it here or copy and paste it from Word. So under View I can go back to Normal. This is called Normal View. Outline View, showing me the outlines. Slide Sorter View, which is great because I can rearrange my slides here. I can take this slide and drag it to the front. I can reduce the zoom on the bottom here, the minus sign here on the bottom, right hand side, so I can see more. And I can rearrange the slide here. I can right click on it and I can delete a slide, and I can do some few things from here. And I can go back to View, Normal. So which slide I'm on? This one, View, Normal. And in this view they may ask you a question about adding the notes pane, which is this button right here. So which the notes section comes up on the bottom, which is, I tried it earlier with the notes button. I press it to remove it. And you may have a question about View, the reading view. I think this is a newer thing in 2013, and just showing it to you. I think in the previous version they used to say View Slideshow. I think they call it Reading View in 2013. There is a question about fit to window, and just to show that, I'm just going to increase the zoom, and in the view there is this button here called Fit to Window, which means it will make the slide fit. And that button is also next to the zoom plus sign on the right side bottom. This last button, you don't see the explanation. I can see it, but it's cutting out. It's that box there, which is the same button as fit to window. So you can use that in here. So that's about running slideshows and adding notes and viewing your things. So whenever you get questions about view this, view that, so you can try the view tab and then see if you can find the buttons. Now in the exams, they will not give you more clicks than you need. So if something can be done in 3 steps, they'll say they will not give you the 4th step. Many of the exams will let you repeat the question, so that's a good thing because you'll know you haven't answered it, so you can repeat it. And most of the exams will not let you skip a question and then come back to it later. I think in the Microsoft Office test there might be a way to skip it, but not in the employment-based test. That's at least till now I haven't seen that. Maybe they will change it. That'll be a good thing if they do that. So going on, next is called the print option. And usually when you print something, the question is what do you want to print. So when you go to the file button, print, and from here I can choose the printer, how many copies, 1 2 3 4. I can choose whether I want to print full page slides, so by default it will print 1 slide per page, or I can say print the outline, or I can print handouts. So I can say, you know what, put 4 handouts, 4 slides on 1 page. And I can choose my orientation, which is landscape or portrait. I can change the color to pure black and white, so that it doesn't, if I have added my color scheme to it, which I haven't done that yet, it will only print black and white. And you can also choose the slides, like up here, and there's this thing here. When I point it will tell me some explanation, which is I want to print 1, 5. That means print 1 2 3 4 5. The dash means, and then I can say 8. So I'm able to control how many slides I will print, which slides I'll print from mine. And I think this is the new feature about the settings for printing all slides. So before I can enter this here, I'll have to change this to print custom range, so that I can tell it print 1, 5, 8. So that would be the idea, specific slides to print, because by default it will print all slides, and you can also choose printing only current slides. So these are all print related questions about what you want to print. So next slide is about design, which they'll say questions about to add some coloring to it. So if I go to design, there's themes here, and they'll tell you what theme to apply. So you see, when I point to it, it tells me the name, facet. This one is integral, and you click on the drop down button, and then there is some more, and they all have a name to it. And usually they'll tell you, again, they'll tell you 3rd row, 3rd column. So I click on it, say this one is called the frame, I click it. So the theme is added. Now in 2013 you can also get variant, so you might get a question about that too, that change the variant to one of these or anything else with colors and things. But they'll always tell you these words. You see on the side, they will always tell you some way that you will understand it much more easily. They can also ask you about slide size, because this is usually widescreen. Now you can make it standard 4:3, and also you can format the background. So that is, if I don't like this background, or whichever it might be, say this one, let me get a darker shade. Alright, so say this is, and I want to format the background, I can do that. I can change it to the color I want, that's like solid color, and I can change the color. And when I do that, I can hit apply to all to apply to all of them. Otherwise it will only apply to this one. So see what the question is asking, and see whether it wants you to add a solid color, a gradient fill, which is a combination of color, pattern fill, or picture from your computer, and you can insert it from a file. And when you do that, you can set your transparency so that the picture is a little lighter shade, so that the words are visible, and then you can hit apply to all. I'll just hit reset. So those are the questions in the design tab that you can use, and just make sure you choose the right design theme they want you to use. Alright, so the next thing is transitions. So transition tab on the top. Transition means that when I change my slide from one slide to the other, how do you want it to go? And again, they'll tell you whether you should use any of these transitions. Now in 2010, it might look a little different with different options. So I wanted to use the honeycomb. I can click it. So you see it's showing me how it will change. So this is what's called transition. And there are various effects to the transition. Now usually what they'll say with the transition also is to remember to apply to all, otherwise it will only apply to this slide. So then you'll have to go and apply to every one of them. Now this button here is a question here, which this option, the after, which is part of rehearsed timing, which I'll talk about a little later. But the idea is that I can set this and say that every slide should change in 10 seconds. So I can change this last two digits to 10 seconds and it apply to all. So that means every slide will constantly keep on changing in 10 seconds. So that's the idea. And this duration here is specified the length of the transition. Like how long should it take to transition? Like as the effects are happening, do you want it to happen in 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then you can hit apply to all, or you can change it for each and every one of them. Okay. So those are the transitions questions. The next thing is about animation. So I'll click in the box, and usually you'll always find you are in the right place. So the animation, there is an animation tab, which is when I'm running my slideshow, how do I want my animations to appear? I think I'm just going to hit apply to all here. I don't know if I've done that. Okay, and animation. So up here when I click on this drop down button, so I can have entrance animation if I wanted it to come, or I can say that they'll show up whichever way and then I wanted to emphasize it, or they can ask you to do an exit one. So say I say, you know what, fly in, so that means they all will come flying in. And there is effect options where I can choose to come from the bottom, from the right, and also whether I want it to come all at once or do I want it to come by paragraph. By paragraph means each line. And as one object will apply to whenever you have some pictures or charts, that's when you can apply that, which we'll talk about a little later. Now once you've applied this effects, which is entrance, I have to go to add animation, and then from here I can apply, say, a spin emphasis so that it shows up and then it should spin. So that's the idea of this, the spinning part. Okay, and then it will run each and every one, and then it will also do the emphasis. And you can also check out the animation pane where you can see all the animations I've applied, and I can right click here and I can remove one if I don't want those extra one, because it can take a lot of your time as the animation is running. And they've also added this button here called Animation Painter, which is, it's like Format Painter in Word and Excel, even in PowerPoint, where if I have a word with a certain colors and fonts and format on it, I can copy that using the Format Painter and then I'll apply to the words I want. So the Animation Painter is, if I've animated in a special way here, then I just copy that and I can apply to the other boxes, so I don't have to do all the work again. So it's a nice little feature. And there is a timing here, which you may get it. You may not see that much. Okay, all right, moving on. Rehearse timing and custom slideshow. So in the slideshow tab, I have a button called rehearse timing. What this does is I can rehearse and tell PowerPoint that this slide, say, take 5 seconds, this one take 2 seconds, and you just set it so that it will run according to as you need it, rather than all of them taking only 5 seconds. So I'll just show it to you quickly. I'll go to rehearse timing, and what happens is this recording is happening. It's saying 1 second, so I'll use the arrow to start changing it. So I'm just telling it, giving it a second or two, and I'm trying it to change it so that it doesn't take much time. and you can pause it. So I'm giving it whatever time I want to give it. So you see here the animations coming. And at the end, it will tell me, okay, you are done now. Do you want to keep this? And I say 25 seconds. I say yes. Now, if I go to view slide sorter, I will see the timing under every one of them. And I wanted to change this from 5 seconds. I can click on it, go to the animation tab, I think no, transition tab, and there's the timing here, so I can reduce it. And you see it's changing here too. So I can click on any of the slides and I can change the timing here. And this is the one I was telling you that if I change this to, I think this is the second. I thought that this was the second. So this is the second part and this is the minute. So I can put 2 seconds and apply to all. That means all the slides will finish themselves in 2 seconds. Okay. So that's under slideshow, rehearse timing. And you can also set up slideshow and then you can tell it to loop. So this is really good, you know, if I was running a PowerPoint and I wanted it to continuously keep on going because I was selling something or I was doing a presentation to some people. So I want everybody to keep on looking at it, so I can loop it until I hit the escape key on the keyboard so that it will just run on its own. I don't have to stand there. So that's under the slideshow, set up slideshow. I'm just going to double click on it and okay, rehearse timing. I can hide a slide. So say I did not want to see this slide in my presentation, I can hide it so that it will not show up because it will be hidden. So there is the hide button, which is an exam question. You will also get a question about using the presenter view. So in the slideshow, there is this option. You see, just press it to turn it on. What this does is, you know, when I have a laptop and I have a projector, I'll be able to have the presenter view on so that on my screen I can see my notes, but the people cannot see it on the projector. So that's the idea of the presenter view, and you have to set it up a little bit when you do that. But usually just turn it on and that's it, at least from the exam point of view. You can create custom slideshow. So, you know, I have around 15-20 slides, but sometimes for certain presentation, I need to run it in a different order. So I click here and I go to custom show and I click new and I can give it a name. Always meaningful name will be good. And then I can say add. So I'm choosing the slides that I want and I can add it. And then I can also move it up and down the order or even remove it if I wanted to, and I can go back and add something else. And I click OK. And I can close it. Now under the slideshow, custom slideshow drop down button, I'll see the plan A, the name I gave it. So I can run this particular slideshow layout rather than all of them, and you can keep on adding more. And here too you'll see the option called present online, which I had mentioned that under file, under share, there's the present online. The same option is also under slideshow, present online, which is you are able to show this PowerPoint live online and you can send that link to people, and then you can even do a little bit more. So it's a pretty cool feature. If you haven't tried it, if you have 2013, you can check it out. It's free, part of the Microsoft service. So that finishes up this one. Now the last few things I need to talk about is inserting charts and tables and things. So how do you insert chart? Usually if you are on this box, you can use the chart symbol here and then just follow the steps. Usually they'll say use this one, that one, so you can choose whatever it is and then click OK, and the chart will be added to your PowerPoint. You can also copy and paste from Excel if you ever had it. So in 2013, this is the way it comes up. There is my data, which I can type whatever I want in it, change the numbers, the categories, and they won't ask you too much from there, and I can close this. The important thing to know is the chart tools that I mentioned earlier about drawing tools, and you'll get a lot of questions here in the chart tools. And you see when I click outside, there is no chart tools. When you click on the chart, it's there. In the exam, you should see it right away. What can you do from here? You can change the chart type. I think in 2010 this button might be on the left hand side. Okay. You can edit your data, which is the data that I have as part of it. When I click it, I get the same window that I was looking at it earlier, where I can change the wordings and the numbers on it. And if I added more, I can use the arrows to drag it too. So they'll ask you questions about these things: editing data, changing chart type. They'll say change the chart style, and then again they'll tell you what style number. So you see, this one is saying style 4, and in the exam for this one, when you point to it, you will get the option. So this is in Chart Tools Design, and then if they wanted to change the coloring option, you can do that. And here is add chart elements, which is, they might say that add the primary axis, or they might say add grid lines, and they might say add the primary minor horizontal grid line or vertical grid line. So you have to click it so that it will add it here, and those are from the add chart elements that you can do that from. Quick layouts, where they can say that change the chart's quick layout, or they'll say chart layout to second row second, which is layout 5, which shows me my data. And if you wanted to familiarize yourself also, you could use this option buttons here, and you can add the chart elements from this plus sign, and there are some more things here with child and colors. But you might find from the exam point of view, it's a bit easier to change it from here. And in the chart tools, there is the format button, where there are some minor elements. I don't think so you'll get any questions from here, but just be aware that if they ask you any questions that are related to format and charts, you go to the format part of the chart tools. And they may ask you in the chart elements, they'll ask you questions about legend, and they'll say have the legend to the top. So the legend is the title, the chart title that just showed up when I used the add chart element. And then I went to legend, and I can say none, and it, oh sorry, the legend was underneath the chart title. Oh sorry, the legend is the January, February, March, my mistake. It's the color. What are the colors? That's the legend. And the title part is also here somewhere, chart title, and I can choose to have it none. So again, you can get that question. So good, I think this is pretty much done, and I'll go to the next part, which is inserting tables. And you can do the insert table by using this button here, or you can go to insert and then choose the table from here too, and you can choose how many do you want. And you can do the same thing also for charts, because you'll see the button here too. Okay, so if I go from here, it asks me how many columns, and I'll click OK to it, and then here I can type in the words I want. Okay, and I can just drag and make it bigger. Now when you have a table, you get table tools, and in the table tools they might ask you about styles. So you see, they'll tell you change it to style medium, style 2, accent 5. So don't get confused if they use these wordings, and they might tell you any of these styles. So you see, when you point to it, you will get the wordings, but they'll say that look at column number 3 or 4 and row number 5. So that way at least you'll be able to figure it out. Other questions you might have in table is to delete things. So in the layout, there is a delete button, and you can delete the entire table. You can even delete rows or columns. And in the layout, you also see options for inserting. Now, if you don't remember some of these options on the top, when you right click, you should see some option wherein you'll be able to insert or delete. Now in 2013, the insert and delete will show up, appear somewhere, rather than here in 2010. And so you can always right click in the exam. You'll find that right click works in the exam. Okay. The other thing you'll get questions about is center the text in the center, in the middle, or in the center of the cell. So for this, I may need to highlight everything and then hit it so that they all will be affected. So now again, remember these you will not get the explanation in the exam. So this is under layout in the table tools, and you have the option to center vertically and just the center part. They might even tell you to put it on the bottom, align bottom. So again, make sure you highlight everything if they want you to do that, and that should do it. Going on to the next one, which is about inserting smart art. Smart arts, usually the questions they'll ask you is to create those hierarchy charts. So it could be anything, and the smart art button is right there. Or you can go to insert, and then there is the smart art. So I click it, and then they'll tell you which one to use. They'll say go to the hierarchy, and then when you point to it, you see they will say either use the organization chart or the hierarchy chart. So whichever they want you to use, click it and then click OK. So that way you've created it. And then a lot of the other questions will be where the chart is already made, and then they'll ask you the question. Same thing even with the table, where the table might be there and they might just want you to do one or two things to it. Okay. So again, the smart art tools are there, and they might ask you to change the colors to whatever they might say, like colorful range, accent color 2 and 3, or this one. So choose it. And also you can they will ask you to change the smart art styles, cartoon, or whatever name they give it. So choose it, and then you just do that. Other things they can ask you is in relation to some kind of colors. And this color option, it could be asked in any different variations, where you might even ask you to change a color anywhere, where they give you a series of numbers. They'll say red 141, green 41, blue 35. And so this is one set of number, and they'll give you 3 sets of number, and they want you to change, say for the example, this box to that color. So in the format, you'll have to go to shape fill, and then I'll go to gradient, and I go to more gradients because I need a combination of colors. So that you need to go to this option, and then in here I'm going to change this to gradient fill, and here I need to add the stop option. So if I click on this add gradient stop button, in 2010 it might look a little different, and I'll have to go to color, more colors, and you see this numbers here, and then you have to change that number. So whatever number they give you, 181, so you have to change it to that number, and then you click OK, and then you click on the add button, and then you go back, and then you change the color again, and then you add it again in that way. So you have to do it 3 times to add all the colors, and then that gradient combination will show up here. So you just have to go to more color, change the number again, whatever they give you, the 3 numbers. So there will be 3 sets of 3 numbers, and then you click OK, and then click add, and then it gets added to it. So these are different, and you can remove them too if you didn't want it. So as I'm removing it, see the colors are changing. So this is one of the weirdest questions I've come across, where they want you to make it like a specific color exactly as they want it. Just close it. Okay. And again, anything to do with formatting, go to the format, and then if they say text effects, look for the word text effects. If they say shape effects, then look for the word shape effects. It just makes it easy. If you look at things in a logical way, you will find that it's easier to work with it. You might get questions about ungrouping, so you could just right click here, and then you go to group, and then you can ungroup it. You'll also find it in the format. There is the group ungroup option, right? So a question that you might come across. You may also get questions about bringing something to forward or to front. So just look for that word they want. It will always, you always find the things are already highlighted, and then they will say just do something. So you just have to either right click here, and you'll also see the option called bring to front or send to back. So if you see that question, so just right click here or look in the format option, and you'll find the buttons there. They might ask you a question where they say that select 1, 2, 3 of them. So if you click on this one, hold the control key on the keyboard, and then you go on to highlight the other ones. So only these are highlighted, and then you can change it to whatever you wanted to change it. So the control key will allow you to highlight individual boxes or whatever they want you to highlight. So that should take care of the word art. You can always click on the lines here, and then hit the delete button on keyboard to delete it, or you can even right click and then copy it and then paste it wherever you want it. Okay, so moving on, just this video is getting a bit bigger. I don't know, maybe I might split it up into two, so you'll see. So the next part is about inserting pictures, word art, arrows, and also what is known as actions. So under insert, you'll have the option for word art, and again they'll tell you which style to use, fill, black one, or whatever. So I can click on it, type my words in there, and then I can even move it wherever I want it. Now again, you see they get questions in the tools. They might say something about text effects, and they might say do a reflection, and they might tell you half reflection or full reflection 8 points. So you need to choose whatever they are asking you to do, or they might have shape effects. So whatever they want you to add, just look for it in the tools, and then you can add that there. You can also insert pictures by using this button here, the pictures button. If they ask about clip art in 2013, they call it online pictures. So usually clip art is when you click it, you get to type a word that you are looking for, and it will find it for you from the internet. So you can click it and insert it. So these are clip arts. Okay. And again, there are picture tools for it, from which you can affect a lot of things that they might ask you to do, like rotating, and you can rotate it. So they will ask you this really minor details. And again, the same thing with pictures. With pictures is when you click it, it will ask you where's the picture, and then you go and double click on it. You can also do it from insert, picture, or online picture. Now there is a question about inserting arrows, which is under insert, shape, and they'll tell you which arrow to add. They might say add the left arrow or right arrow. So whichever they say, click it and then drag it here, and that arrow is added. Again, this can be rotated to whatever angle you want it to be, or you can also use this button here to rotate it. And usually they'll ask you some question where they'll might ask you to put an action on this button, or it might be a word. So you go to insert and you go to action, and then you say what do you want it to do. You want it to play a sound, say applause, or anything else, or that arrow can be used to hyperlink it to some slide or other file or a website address. So when somebody in the slideshow, you can click it and it will do that. Okay, so that's inserting actions. One thing I didn't do till now is run the slideshow. So I go to slideshow and I run from beginning, and it will start running the slideshow. And when you click, it changes. You can hit the enter key on the keyboard, down arrow. And if you have rehearsed timing, it will run automatically because we've done rehearsed timing. Even though I'm not clicking, it's changing it. And I can hit the escape key on the keyboard at any time to stop it. So that's the action option that you can apply here. I want to come back to this previous slide for the smart art, because when I'm in this box and I go to animation and I choose any animation, I get to choose here whether I want it as object all at once or one by one or by level. So this is where the object elements come in. So you see it's coming one level at a time because these are objects. So that's where I can control it. Okay. So this is done. Let's move on to the next slide, which is header and footer. So if I go to the insert button, in there is the header and footer button that I can click it, and I can choose to have date and time. I can even put the slide number, and if I want it, I can say don't show it on the title slide, so that my first slide shouldn't have this header or footer thing in there. And a lot of these things are dependent on the theme that I've applied, the color scheme, and so it will, if it's on the top, it will be on the top according to that theme. If it's on the bottom, it will be on the bottom, and I can hit apply to all. So you see that in this one it's on the bottom. So all the slides will have that date and the slide number on it, and my first slide will not have this. because I told it to not add it to the first slide. And just on the insert topic, whenever they talk about something to add, look for the insert tab, because from here you can add text boxes or equations, or when you click somewhere you can put special symbols wherever you wanted it. And you can highlight something and you can add a hyperlink to that word so that it will go to a file, or you can even put a website address and it will take you there. Okay. So this is all about headers and footers. We're almost coming to the last few things. Slide master and handout master. So there is this in the view, there is this button here called slide master. So this is where you can go and effect a whole bunch of slides. So if I click on slide master, every particular type of layout that I've used, this is the single content, they have a particular slide for it. So I can affect its design. So I can come here and I can highlight the titles and I can make changes here. So all of the styles where I've used this single layout, they will have a red color title, and I can close it and you'll find that you see all of the slides now have a red title, so I don't have to do it one by one. So see what kind of a question they were asking you about it. So you go to view, slide master, and you might also get a question about handout master. So you can go to view, handout master, and then they might say that this is where the slide number will go. So they say make it bold, so you click on it, and then in the format there might be the bold, or you can just go to home and then hit the bold button so that the slide number in your handouts will be bold. Or they might ask you to make some other changes. Just look in the handout master button here and make the changes that they want you to make, and then you can close it. Maybe even not, in the exam you may not need to close it. And the last thing I want to say is something new, which is called apps. So in the insert, there is this button here called store. So if I click on it, they will find me apps which are like add-ons to a lot of these different things that you can do to your PowerPoint. And you can, some of them are free and some of them you have to pay money, and you can add those things to your apps, and they'll be listed in my apps option. I think that pretty much should do it. You can use the insert video button to add a video from online or from your PC. It's also here if you needed it. There's also a way to add a whole bunch of a whole photo album, and it will create like a brand new PowerPoint for you based on those pictures. So I hope this is useful. Make sure that if you're not clear about these topics, I've made a separate 3-part series for PowerPoint, whichever version you want, and watch it. Just this may not be good enough for you. It's good for people who are familiar with it and they just want to be ready for it. Thanks for watching.